Hello everybody and welcome back to the Logan Blackman Show YouTube channel. If you can tell by the title, this video will be going over Mock Draft 2.0, which will be released on Monday. So make sure to go down in the description below and check out the blog post on the LoganBlackmanShow.com. And while you're down there, make sure to check out all the other links to the social media accounts down below: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Make sure to check out the Apple Podcasts and Spotify accounts. Make sure to leave a rating out of 5 stars on both. Doesn't need to be a 5-star rating, though. I would greatly appreciate that more than any other rating you could possibly provide me. Yeah, this video will be going over Mock Draft 2.0. You can check out the video for Mock Draft 1.0. I'll link that on the screen here as well to see how they compare in regards to how we talked about it, what players went where, and just for a fun exercise for you, the viewer. I care about the viewers. And if you care about me, make sure you subscribe. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. If you didn't, then I sincerely apologize. I'll try to be better in the next video. But if you've been paying attention to what's been going on recently, we had the 2025 NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis this past weekend with some players performing very, very well. And it's interesting to see how much value people put into specific positions doing the combine. Like, the one that's always fun to me is seeing the offensive lineman in the 40-yard dash. Like, the 40-yard, when is an offensive lineman ever going to run 40 yards in a straight line with no pads on in a game? It's never going to happen. You can say that about every single position, but for offensive linemen, what importance does that have? I mean, it shows off athletic ability, and I think that does come from a little bit of like that elementary school boy in all of us, where it's like, if you're the fastest kid on the playground, then you are probably the coolest kid at the school. I think that has a little something to do with it there, but the offensive lineman is always a very interesting one with the on-the-field workout stuff. But Will Campbell, Armen Membo, they had insane 40-yard dash times given their size. I think Membo at 323 pounds or something like that, he ran like a 4.91 or something. So like, as little as that has to do with on-the-field ability, it is still really cool to see someone move like that. Matthew Golden, 4.29. Who thought Matthew Golden was going to run a 4.29 in the 40? I mean, Isaiah Bond and Blue, two Texas guys, were both talking about how they were going to break Xavier Worthy's record from last year. Both of them ran 4.4s. And then Matthew Golden just nonchalantly walks up there and pops off a 4.29. Like, things like that are what make the combine really fun, but it's interesting to see how people view and the importance of those on-the-field workouts. You look at Mike Mamula from back in the day, who trained specifically for these events at the combine, or these practice drills at the combine. He ended up being a top 10 pick. He didn't have a career that resembled that of a top 10 pick, but he still had a very solid career. Shamar Stewart, who we'll talk about here in a little bit, from Texas A&M, had a playing weight of 290. He came into the combine at 267 or something like that. Ran a 4.58 in the 40-yard dash. Had an insane combine there as well. Nick Emanwari from South Carolina also put forth an excellent combine showing. We'll talk about those two here in a little bit, but this is for Mock Draft 2.0. This is the entirety of the 2025 NFL Draft. Again, you can check out the blog post down in the description below if you want a more detailed analysis from around each pick and why we picked in each spot. But here we go with pick 1, round 1, the Tennessee Titans. Last mock draft, remember, we had them going Cam Ward, the quarterback from Miami, and I still think if I was the GM of the Tennessee Titans, that would be the direction I would go. But just again, given the relationship between Will Levis and Brian Callahan, from what we can tell, obviously it might be a little bit different behind closed doors, but the walking meme that was Will Levis, I don't see Brian Callahan wanting to go with that next year. I did see some reports talking about Russell Wilson potentially going to Tennessee, which I think would be a very nice signing for them, but definitely not an option for the future. But the Titans have so many needs on this roster other than just quarterback. And I think that if they go into this draft, based off what I've read or based off what I've seen, like, they loved Cam Ward when Rand Carthon was there. But when they made the change at GM, they like Cam Ward, but they love Penn State's Abdul Carter. The foot injury aside, Abdul Carter is probably the best player in the draft, depending on who you ask, because it's obviously going to be between him and Colorado's do everything athlete Travis Hunter. But Abdul Carter is an absolute freak coming off the edge. With one arm against Notre Dame, absolutely blitzed the hell out of Riley Leonard, made his life an utter living hell. The Tennessee Titans are going to want to take best player available approach. Yes, quarterback is probably the biggest need on the roster, but Abdul Carter, again, is arguably the best player in the draft, depending on who you ask, between him and Travis Hunter. And there was a time before, like, I think I said this in the last mock draft, where if I was going that best player mindset with the Tennessee Titans, I would have leaned towards Travis Hunter because of Brian Callahan talking about the need for explosiveness at wide receiver. But in interviews around the combine, they were talking about how they view Travis Hunter, and apparently both Callahan and the GM both view Hunter as a cornerback. So that doesn't mean that he's completely off their board here, but I do think that the edge rusher position, if you look at what the Kansas City Chiefs have done, I think I said, I don't remember when exactly I said this, but you can look at blog posts as well with this, but every player that started on that defense, apart from, I believe, Drew Tranquill and Justin Reed, were drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs on the defensive side of the ball. Abdul-Carr could be in that similar mold of that. So I'm going to have him going first overall to the Tennessee Titans, even though, again, I might lean quarterback, but the Cleveland Browns are next, and they were a team that I had taking Abdul-Carr with the whole Myles Garrett situation this offseason. You're going to want to get somebody to replace him, but obviously you can't replace a guy like that with just one player. But Abdul-Carr would be a great step in that direction. And depending on where you trade him to, you're going to have that second first-round pick as well, whether it be in Buffalo, Washington. I've seen Philadelphia there as well. So you'll have that second first-round option eventually. So maybe you go with an edge rusher there. Maybe you go with a quarterback at that position. But for right here and now, I'm going to have, and I did toy with the idea of the New York Jets trading up with this pick to select the guy I'm going to pick here, and that is Cameron Ward from Miami. The best quarterback in the draft class, in my mind. I think Cam Ward does an excellent job at making plays off script. He's not necessarily like a super athlete like Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels or someone like that, but he's more than capable of making plays off script. He has a very, very strong arm. He's very calm in the pocket as well. Some people view it as arrogance, but he's just very, very calm. He can do a little bit too much at times, but overall, I think there's nothing that puts him that would make me believe that he's not the best quarterback in this class. If you look at Cleveland, with Deshaun Watson, the reports suggesting that he's potentially played his last snap with the organization, and that can't come soon enough, really. But besides Deshaun Watson, you look at the quarterbacks that they've had in recent years, like Jacoby Brissett, Jameis Winston, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Bailey Zappi. Like, they've gone through the ringer with all these different quarterbacks that have come in here. Jeff Driscoll was another option in there. Like, they need a solidified option at quarterback, and they're probably going to bring someone in like Kirk Cousins this offseason to pair with Kevin Stefanski, who coached obviously up in Minneapolis. That would make the most sense there. So if the Falcons release Cousins, he would go up to Cleveland. They draft Cam Ward with the second overall pick. You have your potential quarterback of the future right there. But again, there's an option for the New York Jets, I believe, to trade up here. I've seen teams talking about trading up with the Titans at first overall, those teams being the New York Giants in that conversation as well to draft Cam Ward. But at third overall, I am going to have them taking Shedeur Sanders. Apparently dividing opinions around NFL circles, which shouldn't be too surprising given how most people on social media view Shedeur Sanders and view the Colorado Buffaloes in general. But Shedeur Sanders, like Cam Ward, did not do any workouts at the combine, focused on his interviews. And there was some mixed reports around, like, he didn't seem very professional in his interview. He didn't do X, Y, and Z. Seemed kind of arrogant. I could see it being a reality where he kind of knows where he's going. Like, his dad did the same thing back in the 80s. Like, oh, where are you picking? I'm not going to be there when you pick. So what's the point of me interviewing with you? So maybe it's that bit, a little bit. Lord knows what's true in regards to this whole situation. But as we talked about with Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders is the second best quarterback in this draft class. And I think for a team like the New York Giants with Joe Shane and Brian Dable being on their last legs, you need to ace the quarterback here. So they could be a team that brings in someone like Aaron Rodgers, and then Shedeur Sanders is there to take over once Aaron Rodgers inevitably leaves the franchise. But Sanders could, I've seen people talk about him going second or third overall. I've seen people talking about him going later in the first round. I've seen people talking about him going out of the first round. I don't really see that as a reality. I think he's too talented. He may not have the arm strength of of Cam Ward, but he's super tough. He's super accurate. He can make all the layered throws across the middle of the field. He rolls out really well to his left. He's very tough. Like, he's got the makeups of a good quarterback. It's just, where does he go? And I think, to me, at this point in time, I'm still going to have him going to the New York Giants at third overall. Fourth overall, the New England Patriots. We're going to go with Travis Hunter. I just think the comments from Mike Vrabel were really funny around this whole situation. And he talks about, like, you're not the only player who had to play both ways, because Mike Vrabel obviously was a linebacker for the Patriots, played tight end at times for the Patriots. So joking around with that, just how they talked back and forth when Mike Vrabel was doing his interview at the Combine, I just think that was very interesting. It might not end up being the direction they go, but Travis Hunter could provide so much for the New England Patriots. Give you another option opposite Christian Gonzalez on the corner. Give Drake May a potential option on the outside at wide receiver, because we're out talking about, like, building around Drake May. Yes, the offensive line's a big need here. Will Campbell from LSU, his arm length is a little bit of a question, so people are talking about him moving inside the guard. Apparently the Patriots don't care about that. I personally don't care about that, but maybe Armin Membo from Missouri be an option here. But and Mason Graham, another option. Give Mike Vrabel that Jeffrey Simmons type player there for the middle of the defense. But Travis Hunter's the best player available. I think that's the idea the Patriots are going to have. It wouldn't shock me if they went with the tackle here. Like, it's like the Chargers last year. Like, you take the position of need. Like, Joe Alt was the number one player on the Chargers board, seemingly. So you took him above the likes of Malik Neighbors. You took him above Roma Dunze. And you took Joe Alt. So I could see a reality where that happens because Bill Belichick, like we talked about the last time, liked to prioritize the offensive line. But I think Travis Hunter's just too good and could do so many things that I don't see them passing on him here. 5th overall, Jacksonville Jaguars. We have them taking Mason Graham. Same pick as last time. Liam Cohen talked about wanting to be more physical on the defensive side of the ball. Mason Graham would provide that. Getting him on the defensive line with Travon Walker, Josh Hines, Allen, Eric Armstead, I think would be a very good step in that direction of making physicality across the offensive line. Obviously coming from Tampa Bay, with how they built their defensive line, you could see them doing something similar here. Though new GM, this was very interesting. They talked about building an offensive line around Trevor Lawrence, giving him every opportunity to succeed. So maybe we see a T-Mac from Arizona go here 5th overall. Maybe we see a Will Campbell. Maybe we see an Armand Membo go here at the 5th overall selection. There are options here for Jacksonville, but right here and now, I'm going to stick with Mason Graham as that physicality is important along that defensive line there. The Raiders is an interesting one. Mason Graham was a guy that I toyed with the idea of giving them. Will Johnson's the direction I went there last time with Pete Carroll and Spytek's background of building defensive units, but I'm going to go with Ashton Genty from Boise State. Might not be the initial need you look at from the Las Vegas Raiders perspective, and you go like, oh, they need help on defense. Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins are still there, but Lord knows if Crosby's going to be leaving this offseason, so maybe they want to get someone there. Mason Graham, building along the defensive line. We talk about Jacksonville. I think that'd be a similar thing here. Will Johnson would give them that alpha in the secondary, but Ashton Genty is a star. That's long and short of it. Like, he literally dragged Boise State to the 3rd overall seed in the college football playoff. Obviously lost the game to Penn State in the second round of the playoff, but was so close, the closest anybody's ever come to breaking Barry Sanders' single-season rushing record. Finished second in the Heisman Trophy race. He's got the vision. He's got the contact balance. He breaks tackles. He's got speed, though. Spytek talked about speed's good, but it's not necessarily the most important thing we're looking for. And he's not necessarily like the Chris Johnsons of the world, but he's got good breakaway speed when he needs it. And I think he would be somebody that gives that Raiders that option at running back. They're a team that have been linked with Sam Darnold. I could see a reality where they want to take Shedeur Sanders if he's available here, but I think if Darnold's in there, you get an actual stud in the backfield there, because we talk about like running backs building back in the NFL. Like Saquon Barkley just signed a contract extension with the Philadelphia Eagles today, the highest paid running back in NFL history. Like, the running back position's got a new lease of life. And you look at Bijan Robinson going 7th overall, or 7th or 8th overall. Jahmyr Gibbs going 12th overall. Like, the running back position's building back up. There's no reason that Genty couldn't go 6th overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. So I'm going to have him going here. 7th to the New York Jets, an interesting one. One of the tackles could be an option here. Will Campbell, who we had going last time. Armand Membo. You could also look at Will Johnson there as well. Quarterback, we talked about them possibly trading up. Maybe wide receiver. They just cut Devontae Adams today, so maybe that's an option. But I am going to go with a weapon, but in a different direction, and I'm going to go with Tyler Warren from Penn State. Need-wise, it's not necessarily the most glaring pop-out need for the New York Jets, but Tyler Warren is a do-everything type football player, an absolute massive man at the tight end position. I mean, we talked about this before about the USC game. He snapped the ball and then caught the touchdown the same play. He finished 7th in the Heisman Trophy race. He won the John Mackey Award. He can do literally everything for you. You can line up in Wildcat. He can throw the football. I know that's not the end-all and be-all from the tight end position, but he's just so versatile. He would give the Jets a legit weapon on the outside, and tight end position is a very important position here in the NFL, especially for a young quarterback like we expect the Jets to get, whether that's a Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, like whichever quarterback they end up going, because there's not a reality at this point where they won't draft a quarterback. At least that's not how I see it at this point in time. So offensive line could be again an option here with Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith leaving potentially, and both being older. So there's a lot of options for the Jets here. Mason Graham, Shamar Stewart, Michael Williams, Jalen Walker, they're all options, but I'm going to go with Tyler Warren here at 7. At number 8, we're going to go with the Charlotte native, Jalen Walker. We were talking about him previously with the New York Jets pick. Linebacker, edge rusher. No one really has pinned down a spot for him, but the fact of the matter is he will make plays for you on the defensive side of the ball. We love the stories of comebacks, going back to the team where you grew up watching. And they cut Shaq Thompson, the last remaining piece from that Super Bowl team when they lost the Denver Broncos. They cut him. So you want to play Jalen Walker at linebacker, you can do that. If you want to play him at edge rusher, you could do that. The thing is, the Carolina Panthers need defensive players. They need help on defense. Jalen Walker can fill a multitude of different positions, wear a multitude of different hats, and I think he would be an excellent player for Carolina here at number 8. We had Michael Williams last time. We're going to go Walker this time. New Orleans Saints next. Talk about Tet McMillan, T-Mac from Arizona. We had him going here last time with Kellen Moore coming as the head coach, needing more weapons on the offensive side of the ball. But I'm going to go with Shamar Stewart. We talk about blowing up the combine. Shamar Stewart was that guy. He blew up the combine this year. Again, at 6'6", 267 pounds, which he's going to gain weight for the season this year. One would expect. Again, played at 290 pounds this past year at Texas A&M. But a 4.85, geez, I did it again. 4.58 and the 40-yard dash is ridiculous. The sack production or the production from his standpoint is not necessarily like something you look at as a top 10 pick, but that ceiling is so crazy that we knew he was going to blow up the combine. It was like written in the stars that he was going to absolutely torch the combine. We talked about it in the last video. We've talked about it in previous blog posts that if there's going to be somebody that rises up the draft board that could go a lot sooner than where we had them, which last time was, I think, 17 to the Cincinnati Bengals, that's Shamar Stewart. He's going to be a guy that the New Orleans Saints can build around. You look at Cameron Jordan getting a little bit older. You can sit him behind Cam Jordan for a year and then unleash him on the defense. He's going to need some time to grow. He's not going to be going out there and getting 20 sacks in his first season. Maybe he does. Maybe he does. But right now, I don't really see that being the case. But in regards to ceilings, him and Michael Williams for the edge rusher spot, there aren't a lot of ceilings higher than that. And I just think based off his combine performance, he's going to be a guy that continues to rise. And I think the Saints at 9 would be a very good spot for him to continue his development. Because they just need talented, young, athletic players, and Shamar Stewart checks all those boxes. The Chicago Bears at 10. The best tackle, regardless of arm length, and that to me is Will Campbell from LSU. This would be the dream pick for the Bears. We had Armin Membo going here last time. I think that could still be a realistic option. He's the tackle number 2 behind Will Campbell, in my opinion. Again, arm length's a big question, so they could kick him inside to guard. Will Campbell is just a mauler. He's an absolute beast along the offensive line. Ben Johnson talked about building a security blanket around Caleb Williams, getting the offensive line right. Darnell Wright at right tackle is a good start, but you need to get that other spots figured out. If you want to play Campbell at guard or tackle, I think you could have a very good player there, potential all-pro level player there. So if he falls to 10, I don't see the Bears passing on him. But again, Armin Membo could still be an option here as well. The 49ers at 11, I had Walter Nolan going here last time. I thought about Shamar Stewart here from Texas A&M, but we're going to go with Will Johnson. Robert Saleh coming back as the defensive coordinator just makes me think they're going to go defense here. Offensive line's a big need as well with Kelvin Banks, Armin Membo still being available, but the defensive side of the ball is going to need work as well. A lot of people are talking about linking them to defensive linemen. Again, Nolan, Shamar Stewart. If Will Johnson is available with that toe injury that he has, it wouldn't be shocking if he fell this far. I think this would be his cap, though. Maybe Atlanta at 15 would be a stopping point if he fell, because those injuries depends on how people view him. I think he's super talented. He's got the size people look for as well. Had a couple pick sixes as well. Like, he's got what you want in a corner. And with Robert Saleh coming from the Jets, with Sauce Gardner there, this could give them that Sauce Gardner replacement, or not replacement, but give them that Sauce Gardner option. Travarius Ward potentially leaving in free agency as well. So this would give them that replacement. Ready-made replacement at 11th overall. If they don't go defensive line, if Will Johnson's here, they were going to take him at 11. At least that's what my thought process is at this point in time. Very nice scheme fit for the 49ers. At 12 for the Dallas Cowboys, Tyler Booker from Alabama. We talked about this pick last time. We had Ashton Genty going here, but we talked about the potential of Tyler Booker going here. He just wants to, he said something at the combine where he's like, I want to end people's love for football. I want to ruin the game of football for people, or something along those lines. Like an absolute mauler on the offensive line. Massive dude as well, about 6'5", 320, 330 pounds there. He will be an absolute hog molly in the middle of the defense. Zach Martin obviously retiring. And if you remember when Zach Martin got drafted, he wasn't really a guy that the Cowboys, that people were linking the Cowboys to at that point in time. Remember, that was the 2014 draft. That was Johnny Manziel's draft. Johnny Manziel starts drifting down the draft board, and everybody talks about Jerry Jones' love for stars, but when they had an opportunity to draft Johnny Manziel, they took Zach Martin. Like, it wasn't something that everybody looked at right away, but Zach Martin obviously is going to end up having a Hall of Fame level career. Like, those are the types of players the Cowboys look at. You look at the past couple drafts as well. Tyler Smith from Tulsa. You look at Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma last year. Armin Membo, I've said his name about 1,000 times this episode, but as a potential guard option, you could slot him in there as well, but Tyler Booker would give them that absolute lane driver on the offensive line to clear up running lanes, because like McMillan's going to be an option here. People would love Genty. I've seen Amari and Hampton talked about here, but Booker would just give them that affordability at that guard spot. And Schottenheimer, as we talked about, wants to run the football. He's a Schottenheimer. He wants to run the football. He wants to be physical. Tyler Booker would add that to the Cowboys offensive line. The Dolphins at 13, We're going to go Kelvin Banks again. I think just scheme fit. I don't think he's the next best tackle in this draft, but I think scheme fit, it's a damn near perfect match, especially with the future up in the air around Teron Armstead, with him possibly retiring. Kelvin Banks just slot right in there. Texas and the Miami Dolphins ran similar styles of offenses, and again, it's just a natural fit. Even though I think Armen Membo, who I'm going to have going to the Indianapolis Colts at 14, is the better prospect. Membo, one of the guys again who tore up the combine, ran a 4.91 at 323 pounds or something like that, like torched it. So it's weird to see him go 4 picks later, but that's just kind of how the draft board fell this time around. Tyler Warren is obviously going to be the guy that a lot of Colts fans look to as an option for Anthony Richardson. Maybe they go in Colston Loveland from Michigan, because even Chris Ballard talked about the need for a tight end position, getting more production from that tight end position, but the offensive line's a big need here. The guard spot the guard spot really is the big issue along the offensive line for the Colts. Like, you want to talk about building Anthony Richardson, building around Anthony Richardson, making sure you get the best out of him, solidify that front unit. Armen Membo is the best offensive lineman available. So take him here, slot him at guard. He could be tackle. He could play tackle. I'm not sitting here going like we're limiting him to just guard. No, not at all. But if he's there, play him at guard, and then potentially switch him out to tackle if need be. The defensive backfield could be an option here as well. The Colts have a really wonky defensive backfield, just a wonky defense in general, so maybe they go that direction. But if Membo's here and Tyler Warren's off the board, unless they go Loveland, I would take Armen Membo here at the 14th pick in the draft. The Falcons, we're going to have him going edge rusher. I know it's crazy, but we're going to have him taking Michael Williams from Georgia, local product. You have a need at the position, take him. Don't think twice about it. Don't think too much about it. You don't need a quarterback. You don't need a receiver. You don't need a running back. You don't need a tight end. Like, just take the edge rusher finally. Like, maybe there's an option for corner. If Will Johnson's here, maybe they go corner to get someone opposite AJ Terrell, but you have to take an edge rusher finally. Take it. Michael Williams is right there. He played most of last season injured. He's got a ridiculously high ceiling. Obviously didn't test at the combine. So if he's here at 15, don't think twice about it. Take him. Take him here. And then the Cardinals, we're going to have a go edge rusher again. Mike Green. Production off the charts. 17 sacks this past year, 17 and a half sacks. I can't remember the exact total from him. The Cardinals need help on the defensive line. Darius Robinson, who they drafted last year, battled injuries, battled some family circumstances as well, so missed a significant amount of time in development, but he'll be back next year. The Cardinals ranked middle of the pack in regards to sacks, but they don't have that dominant edge rusher. Mike Green, I believe, would provide that for Arizona. The Bengals here at 17, we're going to have him take Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. Didn't think he'd be here. Obviously, last time we had him taking Shamar Stewart blowing up the combine. He's going a lot sooner than that. So Nolan's now the guy here. Kenneth Grant from Michigan could be an option here. Derek Harmon from Oregon could also be an option here. There's been some questions about Walter Nolan's character concerns, but in regards to an actual player, he's one of the higher ceilings from the interior defensive line spot, which is a spot where the Bengals need. They just need to improve on defense. They need to stockpile talent on the defensive side of the ball. That was just something they didn't have. Like, they finished 9-8 this last year with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase being insane this last year. Like, Joe Burrow led the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns. Jamar Chase had the triple crown, and you missed the playoffs because your defense sucked. Trey Hendrickson couldn't do everything himself, so your defense just faltered because of that. You need help on the defensive line. We don't know what Trey Hendrickson's future is. We don't know what Sam Hubbard's future is. We don't know what Hill's future is either in the middle of the defense. Walter Nolan's the next best defensive lineman available, so take him here at 17 and hope Al Golden can get this shit figured out, and hopefully he can get back to the playoffs next season. And the Seattle Seahawks are next. This one's interesting because offensive line is going to be a big need here because Mike McDonald wants to establish the run. He's a defensive-minded head coach. He came from Baltimore, came from Michigan, two spots where they want to run the football and be physical on the line of scrimmage. But right now, do you take Gray Zabel from North Dakota State? Maybe that's an option here. Is that a little bit of an overdraft? I don't know. It would fill a position of need like that, but if we're going off of what happened at the combine, someone I think is going to get garner a lot of attention in the draft because of his combine performance. It's not necessarily the biggest position of need for Seattle because they've got two options there, but I'm going to go with Nick Emanwari from South Carolina. If he was either a corner, a safety, a receiver, like, he would have had a 10.00 RAS score. Like, he was an absolute freak at the combine. Compared to Derwin James from the Los Angeles Chargers with his size, he can do literally everything for you on the defensive side of the ball. He has the size of a linebacker and the athletic ability of a corner. Like, he's just an absolute freak at the same position. And Mike McDonald could get that Kyle Hamilton-esque player on the defensive side of the ball, because yes, the offensive line is going to be a big need here, but Mike Macdonald's also going to rebuild his defense as well. I could see Giad Campbell from Alabama going here as well to fill a linebacker spot, but Nick Eamon-Worry was just so dominant at the combine, and give him a familiar-esque player that was someone, which Kyle Hamilton, ironically, did not necessarily have the greatest combine performance, especially in the 40-yard dash. You look at his 40-yard dash from the above angle, it was like this. But Kyle Hamilton obviously turned into one of the best safeties in football, and Eamon-Worry could give that to Mike Macdonald here in Seattle at 18. Maybe it's an overreach, but in regards to talent, athletic ability, I think this could be a real option here for Seattle. The Buccaneers, the fall stops here. We're going to have to take in Teteroa McMillan, T-Mac from Arizona. This was a guy that's a perennial top 10 pick in like every single mock draft you've ever seen. But Chris Godwin, I believe they're letting go in free agency, if I read that right. I could be wrong. There's something going on with Chris Godwin. Mike Evans is obviously getting older. He's on the last year of his deal. Jalen McMillan, another McMillan, had a very good year this past year, the rookie from Washington, but they could use some more weapons on the outside. I think Giad Campbell would be a real option here as well. He dominated the combine as well. We'll get to him in a little bit. But with McMillan being here is not something that a lot of people, including myself, really expected. So if he's here, I'm sure Baker would love to have a guy like this, because like Evans missed time, Godwin missed time. There was like portions where multiple receivers are missing time for the Buccaneers. Getting a guy like McMillan would be like an exact like replacement potentially for Mike Evans for the future. Like, I think this would be a very smart pick for Tampa, and if they went Giad Campbell, I wouldn't think twice about that either, because the dude's a freaking great linebacker. So we're going to go McMillan here, but Campbell could be an option. The Broncos, we're going to go running back. We're going to go with Omarion Hampton, a guy who also had a very, very good combine performance. At 220 pounds, ran a, 4.58, 4.48, 40? I can't remember the exact number at the 40. Out of all the running backs in the combine, he put forth the best performance, arguably, apart from the dude from Virginia Tech. Hampton has been talked about as a potential first-round draft pick since the season ended, but as we've gotten closer to the draft, the more and more it feels like he's going to be a first-round draft pick. It was kind of like Jahmyr Gibbs when he got drafted, that Bijan Robinson draft. Like, Bijan was guaranteed a spot in the first round. That's Ashton Jeanty. I'm not comparing them as players, but like in regards to the situation, like Ashton Jeanty's guaranteed first round guy. Jahmyr Gibbs was like a fringe first round guy, but as we got closer, like people start going like, oh, maybe some people have Hampton over Jeanty in the draft. Some people had Jahmyr Gibbs over Bijan Robinson in the draft. So maybe there's a reality where he goes even sooner to this to a team like the Dallas Cowboys that we talked about before. But Denver is in need for that joker. Sean Payton was talking about looking for the joker position. That's either a tight end or a running back. Colston Loveland was the pick last time, but I think with him, he talked a little bit more about the running back position as well at the combine. So I would love to, I think that they might lean towards that versus tight end. I could be wrong. I'm like 50-50 on this, but I think Hampton's performance of the combine and how he's been building up steam so far this entire offseason leads me to believe that Denver could be the team that he ends up going to if he doesn't go even higher than this. Now, a team that's on next, the Steelers, I also thought with Omarion Hampton here, because Najee Harris and Jalen Warren are both free agents. Lord knows what their situation is. Omarion Hampton talked about he would love to play with a running back like Najee Harris, share a backfield with Najee Harris, but with Hampton off the board to Denver, we're going to go with the Steelers taking a wide receiver. And Emeka Egbuka was the pick last time. We're going Matthew Golden here. Very similar size, speed to Santonio Holmes. I saw a picture Daniel Jeremiah posted in regards to like comparing the two. But again, like we talked about the intro, who had Matthew Golden run a 4.29 40 at the combine? Who had that one? Like, that's the only thing he did. That's the only thing he did. But Golden's a supremely confident wide receiver. He didn't have over 1,000 yards this past year. That's whatever. That's whatever. It's just how Texas offense works. But Matthew Golden, supremely confident wide receiver. Obviously got speed for days. Can run in the slot. Can run the outside as well. I think would give George Pickens a very nice compliment on the outside, whoever the Steelers have at quarterback, whether they bring back Justin Fields or Russ. We talked about Russ obviously going to the Titans. I would be not surprised. I would be surprised. I guess, yeah, I would be surprised they didn't at least talk to Justin Fields about bringing him back and then drafting someone like Jalen Milroe later. But Matthew Golden dominated, and he just did one thing. He just did one thing, and that was all he needed to do. And now we're talking about him being a top 20 pick. But if he's here for the Steelers, he would fit that mold that they look for in wide receivers and give a nice option for George Pickens on the outside. Chargers at 22. We had him going to the Michigan guy last time. We're going to go with the Michigan guy again, Colston Loveland. Talk about needing more weapons for Justin Herbert. Ladd McConkey was great last year. Absolutely fantastic. Set the rookie record for receiving yards in a playoff game against the Houston Texans. But that's about it. That's literally about it. And you look at the Chargers' history They're one of the most storied franchises in regards to quarterback tight end connections. You look at Dan Fouts and Kellen Winslow, Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates. Could this be the Justin Herbert, Colston Loveland show? Like, he may not be as big or physically demanding as Tyler Warren, but let's not sleep on Colston Loveland. Like, as a receiver, he's a great receiver from the tight end position. And again, relations are key with Jim Harbaugh. He wants to get physical. Colston Loveland's tight end. It's not Kenneth Grant, which I think would be an option here as well. I think it's a realistic option here, but if Loveland's available, he feels an immediate need for the Chargers. We give Justin Herbert another safe pair of hands to pair with Ladd McConkey on the outside, and we're looking at the Chargers continuing to build on what they did this past season. Kenneth Grant would build the defense, but Colston Loveland would add that other weapon to the offensive side of the ball and continue to help them grow in that. Omarion Hampton is another option here if he's available, because I think J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards are free agents. I think that could be an option there as well. But the Green Bay Packers are next. Jahdae Barron. As we get closer to the draft, the future surrounding Jair Alexander is up in the air every single day. It's like, what the hell is his future? Is he going to be leaving? He hasn't been healthy for like 3 years now. I don't think he's played 16 games since like 2021. I think he's played like, how many games has he played since then? Like, he gets hurt every single year. It feels like every single year it happens right before the Minnesota Vikings game. Just so weird how that works out. Maybe I'm reading the room wrong a little bit here, but it feels like he always gets hurt around that Vikings game. But Jair Alexander, with his future in question, the Packers need help in the secondary regardless. Jahdae Barron, the Jim Thorpe Award winner, can play a multitude of different positions in the secondary, compared a lot to Brian Branch from the Detroit Lions. Fill an immediate need here. Replace Jair Alexander if he leaves, or it'll be a nice little sidekick to him in the secondary as well. Packers love themselves some SEC players. Jahdae Barron would be that next guy here. Maybe Maxwell Hairston. He dominated the combine as well. Packers love some athletic, twitchy players, so maybe they go at Maxwell Hairston here as well. But the Minnesota Vikings, we're going to go Kenneth Grant. Continue to build on the defensive line. We've talked about how Bullard and I believe Tillery are both free agents this offseason. You also got Harrison Phillips in there as well. They got a lot of holes in the secondary, but there's been links to Darius Slay, who the Eagles just cut a couple days ago. So it'll be interesting to see where the Vikings go, but I think Brian Flores will want to continue to develop his defensive line, and I think someone like Kenneth Grant could fill those holes there. I thought about Gray Zabel here as well to fill a needle on the interior offensive line for the Vikings, but Kenneth Grant, I think, is the best player available for the needs that the Vikings have. And speaking of Gray Zabel, I have him going next to the Houston Texans. C.J. Stroud was the second most sacked quarterback in the league this past year behind Caleb Williams. Receiver was an option. Tank Dell blew up his knee, obviously against the Chiefs. Stephon Diggs tore his ACL, and there's a very good chance that he's not coming back. So they're going to need some more weapons around C.J. Stroud, but that offensive line, that Chiefs game, he got sacked 8 times. 52 times in the regular season, I believe 10 or 11 times in the postseason. You need to fix that offensive line. You cannot have him getting hit constantly. The reason you lost the Chiefs game, we talked about this last time, was not because of the refs. It was because you got your quarterback sacked 8 times. 8 times. Along with the missed field goals, extra points, the kickoff return, the penalties. Like, you got your quarterback set. The name of the game is protect the quarterback. Gray Zabel had one of the best off seasons for a prospect in recent memory from a FCS level school. Gray Zabel dominated the Senior Bowl. He had a very good combine performance as well. Could play tackle, could play guard, could play center, played guard and center at the Senior Bowl, Played tackle obviously at North Dakota State. Road grader, playing for the Bison up in North Dakota. He would be an immediate need here, immediate fix here. Donovan Jackson from Ohio State was an option here as well. He's from around the Houston area, so if you want to go with that local treat as well, like we talked about Jalen Walker, could be an option. Emeka Egbuka would be a nice scheme fit here as well. We went with Gray Zabel. Their biggest need is offensive line. Gray Zabel might not even be available here. If he goes to Seattle, like, he could not even be available. So if he's here, take him. But like Josh Simmons could be an option as well. Like, there's other options, but Gray Zabel would fill an immediate need here for the Texans. And number 26, the Rams. The contract with Alaric Jackson switched my mindset here. So Alaric Jackson signed a contract extension. So tackle's not necessarily a first-round conversation at this point. So I would look at either wide receiver, namely Emeka Egbuka, who could fill that Cooper Kupp role in offense, or corner. Witherspoon is entering free agency this offseason, and after Maxwell Hairston put forth that performance at the combine, we brought him up with the Packers. I'm going to have him going here, the Los Angeles Rams, feeling a need, dominated in regards to the speed drills and stuff like that. That cornerback after Jahdae Barron, that position is a widely contested spot. You got Ravel from East Carolina, you got Thomas from Florida State, Morrison from Notre Dame, you got Porter from Iowa State, who also had a great combine as well, and then Hairston. Like, you've got other options there at the position, even like Trey Amos from Ole Miss as well. Like, there's other corners here, but I think, again, we talk about the importance of the combine for some teams. I think that could be a big thing here. We've seen the Rams, ever since that Super Bowl, draft well on the defensive side of the ball. I think they continue that here, though Emeka Egbuka is an option. I'm going to go with Hairston at number 26. And the Ravens at 27, we're going to go with Malachi Starks again, needing that player to free up Kyle Hamilton's number one priority is seemingly for them. Tackle's an option here. Josh Connerly from Oregon, I think would be a very nice scheme fit for them. But Josh Simmons, I think, would be the next best tackle available. Depends on how his medicals look after the injury against Oregon. That's going to be the main thing to look at with him. But Malachi Starks can fill a lot of different needs in the secondary. He can play that deeper lying role and allow Kyle Hamilton that freedom to do whatever he wants in the middle of the defense. So I'm going to keep Malachi Starks going here. The Lions, we're going to go Geod Campbell. On first glance, you wouldn't think linebacker for the Lions. I don't think a lot of people would think that. I think more people would think defensive line, edge rusher, even the offensive line, like the interior offensive line there as well. Kevin Zeitler might leave in free agency, so Gray Zabel, Donovan Jackson could be options there. But Geod Campbell, I think it's important to note how interesting and important it is that GMs draft schools they're familiar with. Like Geod Campbell, an Alabama guy, you look at Jameson Williams, you look at Brian Branch, you look at Jahmyr Gibbs, you look at Terrion Arnold last year. Like, they draft from Alabama. And yes, it's not the same people that were there in the previous years, because obviously you had Nick Saban there. This is still that same school. Geod Campbell's been praised for his leadership. He's a workhorse. He can play as an edge if you need him to. He got recruited, I believe, as an edge rusher. He can fill multiple shoes on the defensive side of the ball. And the Lions battled so many different injuries on defense that I think you could do a lot worse than pairing Jack Campbell with Geod Campbell, who are coached by Dan Campbell. I think he'd just be a very good culture fit for the Detroit Lions. I think if he's available, which I don't know how likely that is at this point in time, he could go a whole hell of a lot sooner than this. But if he's here, I think the Lions would take him. I really do. I think we had Donovan Ezeraku from Boston College going here last time. I think Derek Harmon, being a Michigan native, could be an option as well. But Geod Campbell's the best player available, and he's got that lineage from Alabama that I think could be key here as well. Washington obviously traded for Deebo Samuel the other day for a 5th-round draft pick, but I don't think that alleviates the need altogether for wide receivers. Because again, now you got Deebo Samuel, but the only other receivers are Terry McLaurin and Luke McCaffrey. Those are your only 3 receivers on the roster, and Deebo Samuel's not had anywhere near the season that he had in 2021. Obviously, people talk. I saw someone on Twitter today compare him to. He's built like Brian Griffin from Family Guy. Like that. Deebo Samuel's a very good football player. Very good. I don't want to make it sound like I think he's a terrible football player or anything, but does it really fill the need that Washington has at that wide receiver spot? You're not going to go in the season with Deebo and Terry McLaurin as your main options on the outside. I think they still need to add another receiver, and Emeka Egbuka would be that guy if he's available. I think, again, scheme fit would fill in very nicely here. Can play outside, can play at the slot as well. Not necessarily an absolute burner like we saw with Matthew Golden before, but he's a tough, physical wide receiver. Ohio State ran him on some jet sweeps every once in a while. He can make a lot of tough catches in traffic. Offensive line's obviously a big need here as well. I think Josh Simmons being available here would be a nice fit. I think Josh Connerly could be an option. Donovan Jackson, we talk about interior offensive lineman from Ohio State, played left tackle obviously, but expected to switch inside. I think those are big needs. I've seen people talk about Geod Campbell going here. Who knows if the Commanders have this pick, if they end up making a trade for Myles Garrett. But Egbuka fills a need, even with Deebo Samuel coming in. So I'm going to have Egbuka going there. The Buffalo Bills, I thought about Landon Jackson from Arkansas. He feels like just looking at him, feels like he's a future Buffalo Bill. And maybe that goes in the second round. He had a very good combine performance as well for as big as he is. But I'm going to go Derek Harmon. Fills the immediate need for the Bills, who have had struggled throughout the course of the season at getting penetration along the defensive line. Ed Oliver signed that big contract this offseason. Didn't really have the season that we were expecting as fans from him. And that defensive line, just throughout course of the season, just kept getting pushed back. They couldn't generate anything. It's like, man, the defensive line, for the first quarter of games, we just keep getting driven back. So you need someone in there that can help push them back. They drafted Dwayne Carter last year from Duke, which I think will come good. He got injured the latter parts of last season or midway through last season. Derek Harmon could be that guy behind Daquan Jones that could be that option next to Ed Oliver, next to Dwayne Carter. And you look at the edge rusher spots as well. This is where Landon Jackson would have came in, with Von Miller potentially being a cut, AJ Epineza, Greg Rousseau in there as well. They just need help with the defensive line. Nick Imamori would have been a dream pick in the secondary, given how Sean McDermott values players in the secondary, given that his positional versatility there. Because I've seen people talking about Taylor Rapp and Cole Bishop are our safeties this year. I don't know about you. I don't have as much faith in that as some other people out there. If Nick Imamori is available, I think they have to take him because he could just do so many different things. Taylor Rapp and Cole Bishop are good, and I think Cole Bishop will develop a lot better than he did this past year. He had moments. I don't want to sit here and act like Cole Bishop was bad, and Taylor Rapp wasn't bad last year either, but Nick Imamori's ceiling is so much higher, so if he's available, take him. But their biggest needs is the defensive line. Derek Harmon would add that to this. I could see him going even earlier than this. I could see him going before Kenneth Grant. So if this happens where if he goes before Kenneth Grant, then Kenneth Grant could see falling to Buffalo. So I think that's the biggest need. But right now, Derek Harmon is the pick. Landon Jackson was the pick before I slid Omari and Hampton in the first round. So yeah, this need help on the defensive line. The Chiefs at 31, we're going Josh Simmons. Left tackle is the biggest need. Josh Simmons is the best left tackle. Fairly simple, that one. Not doing a lot of brain power with that one. And the Philadelphia Eagles, the last pick in the draft, we're going to go James Pierce. Character concerns like we talked about with Walter Nolan as well, but just a great football player. Very twitchy football player. He's got the length in there, size. He's a very lean edge rusher, but he could build into that like we saw with Nolan Smith. And the Eagles just get these kind of guys. They just do. They always get these kind of guys in the first round. So that is my mock draft 2.0. Make sure to check out again down in the description down below. We got the blog post there as well. Make sure to check out mock draft 1.0 as well, so you can see how this one compares to that one. Make sure again, though, overall to check out all the links down in the description below: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure to leave a rating on 5 stars on both of those. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. We'll have another video out for you next weekend, so make sure you stay tuned for that. As always, I've been Logan Blackman. Hope you enjoyed. If you didn't, I sincerely apologize. Try to be better next time, and I will see you guys later. Peace.